Heavy iron-reinforced doors groan loudly as they are violently thrown open from the outside. A lone silhouette stands amidst the swirling white smoke, his posture completely bent and broken. Itami takes a slow, dragging step forward into the forbidden inner sanctum of the demon race. Droplets of fresh, dark crimson blood fall steadily from his tattered iron gauntlets onto the floor. His messy red hair hangs loosely over his pale face, obscuring eyes that have lost all light. High atop her grand, twisted Gothic throne, Demon Queen Kali looks down with narrowing red eyes. She exhales a thick, swirling cloud of pale gray smoke from her long, slender pipe. Around the grand chamber, elite demon guards instantly draw their massive, glowing halberds. The sentient blade Sagi hums softly in Itami's grip, its single organic eye blinking rapidly in concern. Instead of raising his legendary sword to strike, Itami drops heavily onto his trembling knees. He places both palms flat against the cold stone, lowering his forehead until it touches the ground. A choked, trembling voice breaks the absolute silence of the grand demonic hall. He begs the beautiful monarch to end his miserable life right then and there. Kali pauses mid-breath, her majestic black horns tilting slightly in pure astonishment. The demon guards exchange uncertain, bewildered glances through their heavy metal visors. Standing up slowly, Kali's elegant black lace dress rustles softly against the stone steps. She descends the grand staircase with deliberate, graceful strides, her high heels clicking sharply. She stops just inches away from the kneeling, shivering form of humanity's strongest warrior. She notes the deep, jagged scars tearing through the fabric of his ragged cloak. Itami continues to press his forehead to the stone, wishing only for a swift execution. Kali kneels down gracefully, ignoring the dust of the floor entirely to get closer. She gently places a slender black-nailed hand under his bruised, dirt-streaked chin. She forces him to look directly into her deep, ruby-red eyes, which hold no malice. Itami mutters quietly about how the human kings used, starved, and discarded him like trash. Hearing this, a sudden fierce flash of genuine dark aura erupts from Kali's majestic frame. The immense pressure causes the stone columns around them to develop hairline fractures. Recognizing his total lack of survival instinct, she realizes he poses absolutely no threat. She stands back up to her full height, smoothing out the dark folds of her gown. With a loud, resonant voice, she commands her guards to put away their weapons. The soldiers immediately lower their halberds, clicking their heavy metal boots in obedience. Kali announces to the room that executing a broken man would bring absolutely no honor. Instead, she declares that the legendary hero will now serve as her personal bodyguard. Itami lifts his head slowly, his mouth slightly open in utter disbelief at her words. Sagi's organic eye rolls around wildly on the sword hilt, radiating pure shock. Kali reaches out and firmly grabs Itami's wrist, pulling him up effortlessly to his feet. His weak legs wobble dangerously, forcing him to lean slightly against her sturdy shoulder. She does not push him away, but instead steadies him with a firm, supportive grip. She whispers softly that within these dark walls, no human will ever touch him again. A single genuine tear slips down Itami's dirt-covered cheek, leaving a clean trail behind. Suddenly, the heavy side doors of the throne room shake violently as someone pounds on them. A loud, boisterous voice demands entry to see the captured human hero immediately. Kali's eyes narrow instantly as she recognizes the chaotic, magical signature approaching them. Itami tenses up completely, his breath hitching as his severe trauma flares violently. The heavy wooden locks begin to splinter under the relentless, overwhelming force from outside. The heavy wooden locks begin to splinter under the relentless, overwhelming force from outside. Itami leaps backward instinctively, his hand darting toward his waist where his weapon usually rests. A sudden, sharp gasp escapes his throat as his knees buckle from sheer physical exhaustion. Demon Queen Kali rushes forward from her throne, her dark wings unfurling with urgent concern. Beside her, the succubus maid Seabet drops her silver tray, sending teacups shattering across the stone floor. Itami falls completely prone, his tattered shirt tearing further to reveal a horrifying tapestry of jagged scars. Kali stops dead in her tracks, her breath hitching as she stares at the marks of human cruelty etched into his flesh. Crimson energy flares violently around Kali's horns as she realizes the extent of what humanity did to their savior. Seabet kneels down beside the trembling hero immediately, her delicate hands glowing with soft green restoration magic. The magic reveals hidden, deep-seated necrotic curses pulsating just beneath the hero's pale skin. Kali walks over slowly, her regal composure replacing her rage, as she gently lifts Itami's upper body into her lap. She brushes a strand of messy red hair away from his forehead, noting how tightly his eyes are shut in lingering terror. The splintering doors suddenly burst completely open, revealing a boisterous, armored young demon prince. Noah, Kali's younger brother, loudly challenges the legendary hero to a duel before noticing the somber scene. Kali glares coldly at her brother, her eyes narrowing into slits that promise absolute doom. Noah breaks into a cold sweat, lowering his practice weapon as he takes a cautious step backward. Itami's eyes flutter open slowly, his vision blurry as he hears the energetic shouting of the newcomer. He finds himself resting against the surprisingly soft and warm lap of the feared demon queen. From the corner of the room, Itami's sentient blade, Sagi hums softly, communicating a sense of safety to its master. Itami uses the last of his strength to push himself up, refusing to show weakness in front of royalty. Noah's eyes light up again as he sees the hero stand, his competitive demonic nature completely overriding his previous fear. He explains that a true warrior's bond is forged through blood and sweat on the training grounds. Itami looks at his own trembling hands, realizing that a physical distraction might quiet the chaos in his mind. Kali sighs deeply, tossing a wooden training sword from the wall rack directly into Itami's grasp. The heavy wooden sword feels familiar in Itami's grip, instantly shifting his posture into that of a master combatant. The scene transitions to the castle's massive underground training arena, surrounded by towering stone pillars. Noah takes a high offensive stance, dark demonic mana beginning to swirl around his wooden blade. Itami stands completely relaxed, his weapon lowered in a seemingly defenseless posture that confuses his opponent. With a loud shout, Noah lunges forward, leaving a trail of dust as he executes a blindingly fast horizontal slash. Without moving his feet, Itami tilts his head by a fraction of an inch, letting the wooden blade whistle harmlessly past his cheek. Noah's eyes widen in shock at the effortless evasion, losing his balance slightly as his momentum carries him forward. Itami delivers a precise, light tap with the flat of his blade directly to Noah's armored backside. From the viewing gallery, Seabet giggles softly behind her hand, while Kali watches with a smirk playing on her lips. Noah springs back up, his face flushed red with comedic embarrassment as he prepares a massive magical attack. Itami's expression turns deadly serious as the dark mana reminds him of the terrifying battlefield magic of his past. He moves like a flash of red lightning, closing the distance before Noah can even release his spell. The tip of Itami's wooden sword stops precisely 1 millimeter away from Noah's forehead, completely shattering the gathering mana. Noah drops his weapon entirely, staring at the hero with absolute awe and newfound profound respect. Itami lowers his weapon and offers a small, faint, yet genuine smile to the young prince, feeling a fraction of his heavy burden lift. Suddenly, a piercing crimson alarm light flashes throughout the underground complex, casting everything into an eerie, blood-red glow. A breathless demon scout crashes through the upper gallery doors, screaming that the Human Empire's elite tracking squad has somehow breached the outer perimeter. Itami stiffens completely as a cold, familiar holy energy begins to vibrate through the solid stone floor beneath his feet. Itami stiffens completely as a cold, familiar holy energy begins to vibrate through the solid stone floor beneath his feet. The memory of human tormentors flashes violently in his mind, causing his breath to catch painfully in his throat. Suddenly, a bright blue light erupts from the scabbard at his waist, shattering the oppressive silence of the hallway. It is Sagi, his sentient blade, who begins to vibrate rapidly while projecting a scolding voice directly into his mind. The floating sword clarifies that the residual holy energy is merely an old defensive enchantment reacting to his presence. Exhaling a long breath he did not know he was holding, Itami lets his shoulders drop as the panic subsides. Sagi floats directly in front of his face, suggesting that he should find small, productive tasks to distract his mind. Deciding to make himself useful to the demon realm that sheltered him, Itami searches for any chores requiring physical strength. In the outer courtyard, he spots a struggling group of demon maids attempting to move massive crates of heavy iron ore. Without saying a word, the crimson-haired young man approaches them and effortlessly lifts 2 massive crates at once. The demon maids gasp loudly, staring at his incredible physical strength with wide, shimmering eyes. Feeling their intense gaze, Itami quickly carries the cargo to the storage room, eager to complete the helpful deed. He spends the next hour fixing broken wooden training dummies in the nearby barracks using leftover iron wire. A pair of laundry maids watch from the doorway as his dexterous hands repair the equipment with practiced ease. Sagi hums a cheerful tune of approval, noticing that Itami's usual melancholic aura is slowly fading away. Moving further down the east wing, Itami notices an elderly demon butler struggling to reach a high window pane. With his superior height, the crimson-haired boy thoroughly cleans the dusty glass until it reflects the sky perfectly. Within a few short hours, word of the incredibly handsome and helpful human bodyguard spreads like wildfire. When Itami steps back into the central hall, he finds himself suddenly surrounded by a dozen eager demon maids. One sweet-faced succubus maid nervously steps forward, presenting him with a beautifully wrapped basket of handmade sweet buns. Another maid with soft furry ears reaches out to hand him a freshly embroidered handkerchief featuring his initials. The young hero stammers, entirely unaccustomed to receiving genuine affection or gifts without an ulterior motive. Sagi floats above the crowd, gloating out loud about how its master is finally getting the recognition he deserves. The maids giggle in unison, calling Itami the sweetest guardian the demonic castle has ever seen. Suddenly, a heavy, suffocating aura descends from the top of the sweeping marble staircase. The lively chatter ceases instantly as every single maid freezes, sensing the supreme ruler's presence. Demon Queen Kali stands at the banister, her long black hair flowing wildly as an intense wave of magical energy radiates from her. Her gaze fixes directly onto the handmade sweet buns resting snugly within Itami's trembling hands. She descends the stone steps slowly, each click of her elegant heels echoing like a countdown timer in the silent hall. Sensing the impending doom, the maids bow rapidly and scatter in all directions within seconds. Itami remains standing perfectly still, left completely alone to face the overwhelming wrath of his savior. Kali stops mere inches away from him, her obsidian horns nearly brushing against his forehead as she leans in close. She demands to know why her personal bodyguard is spending his valuable time accepting treats from other women. Itami tries to explain that he was only trying to help with the heavy lifting around the castle. Sagi chimes in mischievously, telling the demon queen that Itami is simply becoming the most popular man in her kingdom. With a swift snap of her fingers, Kali uses a minor sealing spell to mute the noisy sentient weapon instantly. Turning her absolute attention back to the red-haired boy, she snatches the basket of sweet buns away from his grasp. She declares that any gifts or food intended for her bodyguard must first go through her strict personal inspection. Itami can only stare in absolute silence, completely overwhelmed by the intense protective proximity of the beautiful queen. Grabbing his dark collar firmly, Kali pulls him down toward her level, her eyes flashing with a dangerous, alluring intensity. She whispers that since he has so much extra energy to spare, she will personally assign him a private duty tonight. Itami's heart hammers violently against his ribs as she guides him toward her private chambers, leaving the muted sword behind. As the heavy wooden doors of her personal quarters slam shut, a sudden, urgent magical distress signal flares brightly outside. The sudden flare of the crimson distress signal shattered the quiet tension within the locked room. Itami immediately drew his weapon, his body reacting on pure instinct to protect the demon queen at all costs. Kali placed a reassuring hand on his tense shoulder, her expression softening into a knowing smile. She explained that the signal was not an enemy attack, but rather the traditional opening ceremony for the Universal Interracial Fireworks Festival. Lowering his sword, Itami let out a long breath as the terrifying memories of human betrayal faded back into the shadows. Outside the castle windows, the dark skies of the demon realm began to burst into a kaleidoscope of brilliant magical colors. Demons and visiting human merchants alike cheered from the crowded streets below, celebrating a rare night of absolute peace. Callie locked her arm through Itami's and insisted that they escape the chaotic castle to watch the display from her favorite secluded spot. The crimson-haired hero stumbled slightly, his cheeks flushing a faint pink at her sudden, uncharacteristic boldness. Together, they walked along a winding, moonlit path that led far above the fortress to a high, grassy cliffside. The cool night breeze rustled gently through the grass, carrying the faint sound of music from the distant town. Callie sat down gracefully upon the soft ground, smoothing out the folds of her elegant purple silk kimono. Itami paused for a moment before sitting beside her, maintaining a respectful but intimate distance. From this height, the magical explosions looked like blooming neon flowers scattering stardust across the dark canopy. As a particularly bright golden firework illuminated the sky, Itami's eyes glazed over with a deep, aching nostalgia. He quietly admitted that the bright lights reminded him of the festive summer evenings in his original world, long before he was forcibly summoned. He began to speak of his tragic past, recounting the terrible day greedy human mages tore him away from his peaceful life. The human kingdom had treated him merely as a weapon, exploiting his immense strength while completely disregarding his humanity. Tears finally spilled over his lashes as he confessed how deeply he still longed for the lost family he could never see again. Callie listened in absolute silence, her heart breaking for the immense sorrow this young man had carried entirely alone. Without saying a single word, she pulled his head down gently to rest against her lap, offering him absolute comfort. She assured him that while she could never replace his original home, he would never have to face the darkness alone ever again. Nestled against her, the soothing warmth of the Demon Queen completely enveloped his fractured soul. Sagi, floating gently beside them in the grass, vibrated with a soft blue hum of pure contentment for its master. The heavy weight of trauma that had crushed Itami's spirit for so long finally began to dissolve into nothingness. Kali looked down at him, her gaze filled with an unmistakable affection that transcended the boundaries of their respective species. Itami opened his eyes and looked up at her, realizing that he had finally found a place where he truly belonged. He softly thanked her for saving his life, not just from his enemies, but from the crushing despair within himself. Kali leaned closer, her breath warm against his skin as she whispered that helping him was the greatest choice she had ever made. A massive, multi-tiered emerald and gold firework exploded directly overhead, illuminating the entire world in a brilliant flash. In that magnificent moment of light and color, they sealed their unspoken vows with a soft, deeply passionate kiss. The lingering echoes of the festival below seemed to fade away, leaving only the steady rhythm of their intertwining heartbeats. From that unforgettable night onward, the dark rumors of the despairing human hero vanished completely from the land. Itami took up his permanent place by Kali's side, not as a broken weapon seeking an ending, but as the revered guardian of the demon realm. The demon castle thrived under their shared rule, filled with the joyous laughter of maids and the peaceful cooperation of all races. Every scar on Itami's body had transformed from a symbol of horrific exploitation into a proud testament of his ultimate survival. He had finally answered his own agonizing questions, discovering that true strength was found in protecting the people who cherished him. Callie walked out onto the sunlit balcony, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind with complete affection. He placed his hands over hers, looking out over a boundless world that was no longer terrifying, but beautifully full of endless hope. Together, the legendary Crimson Hero and the majestic Demon Queen stepped forward into a radiant, forever healed future.